We have got to keep our eyes open on these tickers that I have for you in these videos because the market is getting intense. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and do you know the Russian nesting doll is the most egotistical doll ever? It is so full of itself. In this video, we are going to take a look at SPY, QQQ, IWM, and then more specifically, update on SOFI, update on Tesla, and we have Nvidia earnings coming up next week. And honestly, I think that kind of ties everything together with the indices coming up on Wednesday, the 21st of February, and highly crucial and critical to this. And I will tell you also in this video later where you can see my buys and sells and how I'm playing this market, about my options course, and about how you can learn to do technical analysis like I do to gain an advantage in the markets. In the meantime, I want to get right into the charts on this one. So we're going to kick things off with SPY, and we're going to actually finish with Nvidia, and I'll bring all that commentary together for you at the end of this video. So putting this up here, SPY, what are we looking at? We are looking at a rising wedge pattern. We have the slightest bit of bearish divergence going on yesterday. Another strong bounce. We have more room to the upside. We can stay up above 500 for a little while yet. So we're going to have to look and see what happens. We do have the PPI inflation report coming out at 8:30, and that's after this video is being recorded, so we'll have to see what that does to the markets as well. I anticipate it to come in a very strong positive for us as well, not meaning a very high number, but something that I think is going to be beneficial to the markets as it comes out. I think it's going to be a subdued number, and that the markets are going to enjoy what we see. We'll have to see if I'm right or wrong about that one, but let's move on from there. About SPY itself, we do have room up above 500 for a while. We can break up above the top trend line. That is absolutely possible with the lowering momentum and the fact that this is a rising wedge pattern. It is possible that we instead sooner or later see a breakdown through this bottom trend line. And when we do, now mind you, we have a lot of room up until this thing really narrows about 533. Which is about 6% up from where we're currently at. That is a really nice run. Now, I don't think it's a straight path. I think we've been up for a while and that we're due for some pullback sometime in the near future, whether that happens in February or March. I still think that somewhere in there is where we start to see that drawback happening. So let's move over to the Qs where we see a little bit more of a pronounced bearish divergence here, where we've actually dropped down from these peaks, from these overbought territories, back down, still in bullish territory, still room to the upside. Pre-market 437 as I record this video, and so we'll see if we break up above this resistance line that I have right here right now, which we closed yesterday just barely above at 434. I still think that we have room to the upside on this one. This thing comes to a peak. I can't even see it on my screen right now. There we go, at about 470, which would be an incredible amount up from where it's at right now. That's still like 6 to 7%, maybe 8%, 6 to 8%. There we go. That's the range that we'll call it. From where we're at right now. Now, that doesn't mean that we go all the way up to where the peak is. However, we do want to watch this because sometime between now and then, most likely we fall down through the bottom of this thing, and we want to be prepared for when that happens. So should we break this bottom trend line, that is a time that I think we're going to see a rapid amount of pullback happening in the markets. And I don't know that it's an incredible amount happening, but somewhere in the 3 to 5% range could most definitely happen from something like this, bring us back down. Should we come back and retest the 50, that can be one of those times that we actually have an incredible rip back upward again. So we most definitely want to be watching for that for the Qs. IWM, something to watch for here. And I expected there to be a rise for IWM coming up out of this. This is tracking the Russell 2000 stocks. I'm really watching for a double peak to happen on this one. So a rejection at 206 in the near term. I think for us to really catch on to the bullishness of IWM from here, to really see the serious upside coming from this, it's going to take information that causes those Fed rate cuts to be pulled forward from where they're at right now, or that we just need to near that date where that first rate cut actually happens. And as we near that date, I think then we're really going to see this take off. And like I said, if we have economic news that pulls that forward, that's going to be something that is an earlier catalyst for IWM. We want to be watching this one. SOFI, continue its upward climb in the pre-market hours this morning, up around 860. So coming off this double bottom. Now, mind you, this is a range-bound trade for right now. Now, I will say it's a consolidation pattern. It doesn't have a flat top and a flat bottom, so it's not that sort of range. But when we look at this, we're swinging to the upside on this one. And it is possible that we tag it somewhere close to $9 per share and start heading back down again. Should we break out of this top trend line here, we have room up above $9 per share. And that could take us $9.50. That could take us to $10.50. We're going to have to watch and see what's taking place for SOFI and how financial and fintech is doing in general during that time. So moving on from there to Tesla. Tesla, the inverse head and shoulders that I talked about in my video yesterday, actually really took off yesterday. And me and my Discord members that were also in the call option with me did incredibly on it. Now, unfortunately for me, I got stopped out because I had played my stop a little bit too close, but my other Patreon members who were in that benefited from it because they actually caught it when it really started taking off up above these values. And so I was very pleased to have that out there and be able to point that out to them, and also be able, and very pleased as well, to bring that out here to YouTube for you. So what we want to watch out for Tesla is resistance right around 206, 207. Right now we're looking at about almost 204 in the pre-market hours as I record this, and it is possible that we take off and that we see that value. Now, mind you, when we do find resistance, I think that we could quickly return back down to the 200 level. So if that happens around 206, 207, don't be surprised to be back down to 200 soon after. But I believe that 200 is also going to be a solid support, that Tesla will be seen as a $200+ stock. Now that we've broken up above it, we'll see if we get that full candle close above 200 today. If we do, that's a really good vote in favor of Tesla being up over 200 and having 200 as firm support, where we actually have more bullishness coming out of Tesla in the near term. So we're going to be watching for that one. All right, so I said on February the 21st is Nvidia's earnings. I have my Nvidia stock price prediction and earnings projection available over at the Patreon right now. You can go ahead and check that out. The link is down in the description for that. As a matter of fact, if you want to see my buys and sells that I put up over at the Discord available through that Patreon, you can go ahead and do so. And like I said, Nvidia stock price prediction up live right now, and I'll get into the charts in just a moment. I do use options often. I have an options course that I'm building over at the Patreon as well. That's part of what you get by signing up for the Patreon. Not only can you talk with me and my community members, you can see my buys and sells, the Nvidia stock price prediction and projection, same thing for Tesla coming up. And then also with technical analysis, you want to take your trading game to the next level through technical analysis and drastically improve your odds of being profitable in these markets. There's a course, there's a link down in the description right now. You can sign up for this course. There are live teaching lessons over there. This is Stockmo's course. I have a chapter over there on options as well. Very much worth your time and money, and a wonderful learning community in the Discord that's part of that. It is separate from my Discord. So let me bring that back down, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put up the chart for Nvidia. We're going to talk about what could possibly happen leading up to those earnings for Nvidia. So let me put this up here for you. So for Nvidia, I think it's highly possible that with the excitement in the earnings, that I think that there's still fuel in the tank left to push us even higher, possibly taking us up to 765 prior to those earnings. Now, mind you, the higher we climb going into those earnings, the more likely it is that we fall following those earnings. So we want to be watchful for that one. So should we continue to climb from here, unless Nvidia knocks it out of the park in the way that no one expects and gives a forward-looking guidance that's just incredibly beyond what anybody anticipates, that could most definitely send it higher. However, if we get pretty much what's expected, which is incredible earnings from them, but not super incredible earnings. It is super incredible to watch what they've been doing. I don't mean to sound doubtful on this at all. If you check out my my spreadsheet that I have available over at the Patreon, you'll know just exactly how I feel about it. I do think that there's a run up still coming for us, a little bit more of one before we get those earnings. So at 737, that we're looking at in the pre-market hours right now, to get another $28 out of that, so another 3 to 4% prior to those earnings, I don't think is outside the realm of possibility. Should we come in low to that instead, the further we drop down, so should we instead drop down to 700 or below going into those earnings, then I'd be very bullish on earnings, that I think that we would see upside following that one. I think the most likely scenario is that we run up in price to earnings around 750 to 765, but I'm leaning toward that 765 pretty heavily. Earnings happen, we get that pullback happening, and well, we'll see. Nvidia, I said before, was a $500+ stock. It's actually a $600+ stock, and we'll see what their earnings coming out and what their guidance has to say if they are a $700+ stock. And if you want to know, like I said, specifically, go ahead and check that out. That the spreadsheet that I have over at the Patreon, very much worth your time and while to know exactly what I see in the future for Nvidia from where we're at right now. So let me talk to you directly here and summarize this whole thing. Nvidia being a leader in the AI infrastructure space, and it's what big tech has been just on an absolute tear, and Nvidia really leading that rally, in my opinion, for big tech. A pullback in Nvidia especially if they have a soft earnings, for example, could be that catalyst that actually kind of tips the scales going from rising up in the markets, especially where QQQ is with the NASDAQ 100, with the heavy tech weighting that it has. It could be that thing that rips us right back down. We're going to have to be watchful for that happening. A pullback in Nvidia's price could be that pullback in the market's price as well. It could be the thing that kind of leads tech in the other direction. So we want to be aware of that. February 21st, in the after hours, that could be a huge moment for us to signal what's coming up for the markets leading us up into March. And so that could sort of set the tone going into March, going into the Fed meeting. And we also have the Fed backstop for the banks expiring. I think that's on March 11th. There's definitely some catalysts coming up that we want to be watching out for, and definitely watching those inflation reports, watching the jobs data coming out, things to give the Fed reasons to believe that rate cuts are merited sooner than later would be bullish for the markets. Anything that's going to delay that is going to push that back. And like I said, Nvidia could be that massive catalyst that the market is waiting for, where we finally reach a fever pitch leading up into those earnings and then pull back following those earnings. We're going to have to watch and see if I'm right about that, because at this point in time, really, who knows? It's hard to call where the tops are, where the bottoms are. That would be market timing, which is extremely difficult, if not impossible to do, but it is something that I'm definitely watching for, and I'm definitely aware of going into this, that if we see just incredible bullishness coming out of those earnings and we see a pop on earnings for Nvidia and it sends us up over $800 per share, the market's going to go with it. And I do think that if instead Nvidia pulls back heavily following those earnings, I still think the market's going to go with it. I think that that's the dog running point right now that's out in front of the rest of the pack. And so we'll see which direction it ends up taking the markets. At least that's my opinion. My belief on this one, guys. Make sure that you check out SOFI, Tesla, and keep watching Nvidia. Like I said, I think that we have a run up still for each of those three stocks. We'll see how we close out the week on those. And then IWM for the Russell 2000 is one that I'm most definitely watching in light of these rate cuts that are supposed to be coming from the Fed this year. I think the Russell 2000 will continue to do well for us, even if we do double top and pull back from that. I think that sets up further opportunity, and I will continue to dollar cost average into IWM, as I believe that it will outperform when it starts, or when it continues moving, I should say. I think it still has the possibility to outperform what we see in QQQ and also from SPY from the bottom, wherever we find that bottom, up to its top. So those are my thoughts. Those are my ideas. Guys, check out the link down in the description for the Patreon. Come on over and join us. Talk to me. Talk to my community members. See my buys and sells. See my Nvidia stock price prediction and earnings projection. Also, Tesla, I have a stock price prediction and earnings projection out for them as well. I'll be updating it this month, so check that out. That'll be for the next quarter results that they put out, coming out in April. And I think that's also going to be very impactful, very worthwhile, because it will kind of set the tone for where we're at right now for Tesla stock and kind of give some background for direction for where we can expect it to go. So like I said, links down in the description. Also, technical analysis trading course. Check it out, guys. It is top-notch, clean, concise, easy, and has a professional learning community that goes along with it as well. They can go over there and talk to other community members, talk to me, talk to Stock Mo. Just an incredible time, an incredible place. I'm going to let you go. As always, thank you guys for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.